So in general, you can store data locally or you can store data on the internet somewhere, in the cloud, as we say. And they both have their pros and their cons. And presenting this as a choice you have to make is a bit of a false dichotomy because very often people do both. I mean, people do work locally on their laptop and then they store the data in the cloud. So when I talk about local storage, I mean that files are stored on your computer or maybe on an external hard drive. There is also the notion of local servers, which I won't discuss in this class just for reasons of time. Local storage has pros and cons. I mean, on a practical level, if a file is on my computer and I am in front of my computer, I can access it and work with it very easily. It's much more convenient than when something's in my Faculty Senate SharePoint site and I have to go look for it. Um, Also, a lot of control over the file. That's sort of, not sort of, that is related to questions of privacy. Local storage can be very secure. I mean, if there's a file on my work computer that's locked in my office, and unless you have both my laptop's password and a physical key to the office, you're not getting access to it. Um, we shouldn't overstate that. Um, because in practice, if we're doing a big scale data analytics project, it would be very hard to do that without connecting to the internet. And once you've connected to the internet, you're losing a lot of this security. Finally, we can add speed to the mix. This is not universal, but local storage is often faster. But there are a lot of cons as well. And this first con is very closely related to something I identified as a pro, because right now I'm visiting my dad in Pennsylvania, and you're not getting access to any files on my work computer, but neither am I. So if I need them, I am out of luck. So limited access is a big one. I mean, even when I'm in the right state, I have more often than I would like. I have had to walk to my workplace, walk to the college in the evening because something I need is on my work computer and I do not have access to it from home. Then limited collaboration is a big one. You know, most data projects involve more than one person. And if we're really committing to only having data on physical local devices, we are hideously inconveniencing ourselves. Like we're reduced to putting files on physical USB drives and trading them around. It's not good for collaboration. Finally, most online services, most cloud services have various automatic backups going on, if your document is only on your laptop and your laptop stops working, then bye-bye document. And I would say that for large scale projects, I think the the cons probably outweigh the pros most of the time. I would say that most modern data analytics projects are going to at least use online or cloud storage in some sense. As I say, it might be a combination, work locally, then back up in the cloud or something like that, but you're not going to run into very many purely local data projects in this day and age. I think it's fair to say. So let's talk about online storage. Let's talk about the cloud. Online and cloud storage is good for accessibility. Um, as a professor at Chadron State College, we all at the end of the year have to fill out report saying what we did over the course of the year as part of our evaluation. Those reports are all stored in the cloud, meaning that even though I am in Pennsylvania, I can work on and edit mine. It is accessible to me. And then the next pro is sort of a direct result of this. Collaboration becomes 1,000 times easier if the data is stored in the cloud. Everyone on the team can access the data at the same time and do whatever they need to do, and nobody has to ask, you know, does anybody have the keys to Gregory's office? Because he has the data I need and he's out of state right now. Wide scale collaboration, major collaboration projects become practical when you're using the cloud. And then I mentioned this already, but most cloud services have ongoing backups of some sort, so you're very unlikely to lose data if you're storing it on the cloud with a reputable provider. So that's a lot of pros. There are cons. Privacy and security is one of those cons. Your data is being stored on someone else's servers, which make these issues inherently kind of murky. Now, on a technical level, you can assume that all major cloud services are very secure. The last major breach I'm aware of, in the sense of somebody hacking into the servers, was Dropbox 2012, and they have significantly improved their security since then. Most security breaches are due to phishing or similar user errors. But because you're relying on external services, there are inherently a lot more potential failure points. I mean, contrast that with local storage. In ordinary situations, the only people at CSC who can access my laptop is me. So if you fished my password out of me, well, that that thing is still locked in my office. You're still not doing anything with that password. Obviously, that's in contrast with cloud storage, where if you have my password, you might be able to access my data. Now, having said that, I use Dropbox for my personal files. I am not encouraging paranoia here. Just you should practice good security. You should use strong passwords. You should use two-factor authorization when it's available. So this con is not nearly as big as it would have been 2 decades ago. We live in a very online society, but obviously, if your data is online, you need the internet to access it. So that is a con, albeit maybe a kind of minor one for day-to-day purposes. And then the cost. And I mean, this is like let me maybe make sure I'm framing this properly because you always pay to store your data, right? I mean, if you're using local storage and an external hard drive, you have to buy the hard drive. But for cloud storage, it's a recurring cost. You get billed every month or every year or whatever. And it's true that for individual people, sort of in their day-to-day lives, something like Google Cloud has free options that will suffice for them. Once you start increasing your needs, that's no longer going to be the case, and you are going to have to pay for your cloud storage. So this last frame goes for both local and online storage, strong passwords, two-factor authorization. I know I'm not telling you anything here you haven't heard a dozen times before, but it is true. I mean, two-factor authorization, this is an anecdote, but it used to be at Chadron State College that every semester, without fail, one of our students would fall for a phishing scheme and they'd get their account hacked, and every faculty member and staff member and student on campus would get phishing emails from that hacked account. Eventually, Ann Burke, our head of IT and security, got sick of that and implemented two-factor authorization, and that has just stopped happening. These accounts are no longer being hacked. So even when it's annoying, even when I have to run back to my office and get my phone to log into my classroom's computer, these are effective security measures. Um, There's no one size fits all storage solution. In this class, we are going to introduce and work with GitHub. So we'll be assuming for a lot of this class that our data is being stored on the cloud.